end of the first quarter. So these numbers become more and more significant as time passes. Homicides were down 18% as compared to last year, and 35%, almost 36% compared to 2012. Rapes, we've shown an increase this year. Total rapes have increased by about 10% so far year to date over 13, but they're down in total almost 26% to 12. If you'll remember, last year we had a significant reduction in rapes and sexual assaults, so we're not keeping quite at the pace we were last year, but it is still much better than our 5-year average. Robberies down 8%, aggravated assaults down 4.5%, total violent crime reduction 5.6%, property crime, burglaries down almost 23%, motor vehicle thefts down almost 14%, thefts from vehicle down 13%, personal theft others down 2.1%, total property crime reduction 11.4%, and that gives you a total of 10.5% reduction in Part 1 crime compared to 13, and 15% reduction compared to 12. Shootings and reports of shots fired are down in the city of Los Angeles. Gang crime is down a total of almost 14%. Gang homicides down just under 8%. Had increases in a couple of categories that have small numerics. Attacks on POs, police officers are up slightly compared to last year, but down compared to the year before. Carjackings are up compared to last year, and also compared to 2012. But that's a very small universe in gang-related crime. Officer-involved shootings, we've had 3 so far this year, as compared to 10 in 13, 10 in 12, 12 in 11, and 4 in 10. So a good start for the year as far as officer-involved shootings. Traffic collisions, again, this is a added category because of the Commission's interest. Citywide, we've had just under 8,000 traffic collisions, about a 0.5% reduction compared to 13. Driving under the influence related, we've had 387 as compared to 460 in 13. Hit and runs in total, we've had 3,357 as compared to 3,850 in 13. That's a 12.8% reduction. We have had a slight reduction in total motor vehicle versus pedestrian accidents, and a slight reduction in total bicycle-involved accidents. The one thing of significance is that we have had more fatal traffic accidents than we had last year. But again, those numerics are small, and hopefully that will correct and fall more in line with the general collisions as the year passes. 9,901 personnel on payroll, sworn personnel on payroll, 267 level 1 reserves, 21 level 2s, 189 level 3s, 371 specialist volunteers, 38 chaplains, 2,796 civilian personnel, 551 civilian vacancies, and 4,005 cadets in our program. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Item number...
Well, we have a question. Paula?
Sorry, Chief, I'm sorry, what, you were explaining the hit and runs?
Yes.
3,357 to date?
Yes.
This year?
Yes.
And 3,850 in 2013?
Yes.
So the pacing...
So we are at a 12.8% reduction as compared to 2013.
At the same date? Or?
Same date, year to date. Yeah. All these are whatever statistics I give are year to date statistics. They are whether it's crime or traffic collisions or whatever. This particular statistic is the current as of the week ending 3/8/14. So my traffic statistics are a week behind our crime statistics just because of the difference in in the systems that provide them. But it's a good start for traffic. A good start for traffic. Yeah.
Do we have a total for 2013?
Yes, we do, but I don't have it with me. So you want the total for the entire year?
Yeah, I only need it once.
Yeah. We'll get that for you.
Thank you.
It's about 18,000, I think, but I'll get it for you.
We're going to have a detailed discussion and report about hit and runs and what can be done about it, I think at our meeting of the 25th.
And they'll have the totals in that.
Yeah. Last time, I think there were additional breakdowns. Chief, is this the same breakdown we did last time?
Yeah.
It is? Okay, I thought we did. And then we were going to go into some of these other intersections that are.
You know, I didn't bring the other intersection list. It's not, or the current intersection list. I think we were saving that. At least my understanding is we're going to save that for the more total report, because you're going to have the traffic captains in here, and they'll be able to tell you what's being specifically what's being done about it, rather than me just.
There you go. Okay.
Rather than me just give Joel something to put in the paper.
Okay.
For the.
Okay, item number 3 on the agenda is the report of the Executive Director, Mr. Tifank.
Good morning, Mr. President, members of the Commission. A brief item. On Tuesday, April 1st, there will be no regular Board of Police Commissioner meeting at 9:30. There will be a special meeting that evening in the San Pedro area. Our special guest will be Council Member Joe Boscaino, the Council Member for District 13. And that meeting will start at 6:30 p.m., again on April 1st, 2014, at Peak Park Auditorium, 560 Northwestern Avenue, San Pedro. And that, again, will be a special meeting, so no meeting on April 1st. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Item number 4 on the agenda, the report of the Inspector General, Mr. Bustamante.
Thank you, Commissioners. I have nothing to report today.
Okay. Item number 5 consists of information items and filed items relative to noise variances and special event permits submitted for the period ending March 14, 2014. Item number 6, presentations. Do we have any presentations?
None today?
Thank you. Item number 7 is consent agenda items. These items are considered to be routine and non-controversial, upon which the board is provided with adequate information for approval without inquiry or discussion. Would a commissioner wish to pull an item as special for discussion 7A through 7E?
Nope. Let's have a motion for approval of 7A through 7E.
Move we approve 7A through 7E.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, number 8.
Okay. We're now on number 8, regular agenda items. Item 8B and C are verbal presentations. Would a commissioner wish to pull the remaining item of 8A as special for discussion?
No.
Move approval of item.
I'm sorry, excuse me. We do have one public comment card before you approve it.
On
Wait.
which one?
8A.
Okay.
We have Jabral Mohammed.
Good morning, Commissioners, Chief.
Morning, sir.
There was, this is Jabril Muhammad for Bismillah, the Justice Movement. There was an incident in at the airport where there was lives lost. Here we have the Board of Commissioners and the Los Angeles Board, the Los Angeles Board of Airport Commissioners and the Los Angeles Board of Commissioners relative to services of the Inspector General. Yet we are not getting a report from the Inspector General in regards to the services that we're asking to be approved. So the public is in the dark in terms of what it is that is being requested. Now, it could very well be that we are not up to date in regards to the agenda. However, nonetheless, we would like a verbal presentation by the inspector in regards to the efforts that are going to be made to keep the public abreast, given the security scenario there at the airport.
There are no other cards, sir.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the executive director's report and authorize me to sign the MOA on behalf of the commission?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you need me to sign this now?
No, sir. It's going to be going to the Airport Commission later on this afternoon, and we'll get a copy, and we'll have the copy executed later.
Okay.
Okay, we're now on item 8B, City of Los Angeles Domestic Violence Task Force verbal presentation and discussion relative to their goals and activities.
Mr. President, if I may, coming to the table is Deputy City Attorney Eve Sheedy, who is the chair of the Los Angeles City Domestic Violence Task Force, and joined by Carol Tantow, who's past chair of the task force. And historically, the task force has come to the commission on an annual basis and given a presentation on the work that they do, the goals they have for the upcoming year, and so this is the presentation that we'll hear today.
Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming.
Good morning. Thank you for having us. We're hoping that this is the beginning or the continuation, actually, of a conversation that we can act as a resource to the commission as we do to city council and such with regards to domestic violence issues. The city council forms, I'm going to give a brief overview of what the task force does, who it's comprised of. The city task force was formed by the city council in 1994. Our mission is to assist the city with the development and coordination of domestic violence programs and to make recommendations to the city council regarding policies, priorities, funding, legislation, and any other pertinent matters relative to domestic violence. We have a volunteer membership. Each council member appoints a representative and an alternate representative. We also have government agencies, including the mayor's office, the city attorney's office, and LAPD. We work closely with the LAPD DV liaison, detective, and her assistant detective, who attend both our general meetings and many of our standing committee meetings. We meet once a month. On the second Monday, we were honored to have Mr. Tiefenk attend our meeting as well. We have a number of standing committees, including an executive committee, legislative committee, law enforcement committee, including a sort of a subcommittee about our domestic abuse response teams, children's committee, funding committee, LGBT committee, and a DV gang nexus committee, which I co-chair. The committees meet monthly and report back to the task force. We also hold an annual event for DV Awareness Month in October. We honor LAPD personnel from each division who have gone above and beyond in responding to a domestic violence call or working on a domestic violence case. We honor a member of the community with an award, the Marjorie Browdy Award, who is the person who was responsible for creating the task force. You're all invited. We don't have a firm date yet. We're looking right now at October 10th. We also conduct training to LAPD, particularly to the officers assigned to the dark cars, as well as to prosecutors, advocates, and other emergency or first responder personnel. We recently did a training on strangulation. We brought in nationally recognized speakers. We had 122 people in attendance, including LAPD, prosecutors from my office and the DA's office, advocates, and fire EMT personnel. We've done training on U visas, report writing, and all other topics that touch upon domestic violence or violence against women. So domestic violence continues to be a significant issue in the city. The number that's quoted usually is that there are 48,000 calls for service. My office reviews depending on the year, 11 to 12,000 domestic violence reports each year. So it's a very serious problem that, despite wonderful efforts, is not going away. So we are hoping in our efforts to address domestic violence in the city to be a resource for you as well as for all other city policymakers. We have a tremendous level of expertise on the task force, from people who provide services to people who work on legislation. So thank you for your time. We're here for you. If you have any questions at all, we've handed out a one-page sheet that has our contact. We have someone from housing who is our administrative coordinator. So that's it. We look forward to coming back. If you have any particular domestic violence inquiries or would like us to present on anything, we're always available to you. If you have any questions now, we are here to answer them.
I don't have any questions, just a comment that I want to thank Eve and the task force for already being a terrific resource for myself and other advocates and the city in general, all the residents here. Thanks.
Thank you.
I have a question. Are you partnering with the county in domestic violence efforts?
Yes, actually, the way it works is essentially sort of a core group of the same people go to all the meetings, but I'm a member of the DV County Council, but more importantly, what we did is I used to co-chair the legislative committee of the DV Task Force, and in order to save that same group of people from going to the same meetings, we combined with the county legislative, DV Council legislative committee, so we meet together unless we're discussing something specific to the city. We are also working on the task force right now about having a joint meeting of the two agencies and possibly doing something together during DV Awareness Month in October.
I have a question. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm curious. So I'm always interested in terms of the trending. So first I'd like to ask, when we identify victims of domestic violence, would that be the person who actually received whatever the physical contact was, or does it include also the minor children who might be displaced and impacted by whatever the altercation or the violence was? I don't know how the statistics are counted.
Well, it's sort of, it depends. I'll give a lawyer answer. It depends. In my office, once we get a police report, and I believe in the DA's office as well, although I can't speak for them, if there is either injury or some way that the act of domestic violence impacted the children that we can prove, we charge that. When the arrest, we generally get those cases based on a domestic violence arrest, although sometimes if someone's holding a child or something like that, the child endangerment count will be included also. As far as counting, I'm not sure how that happens. And I will say also my office has been focusing on that concept, the children exposed to violence, in order to make sure that we're reaching all of those children. It's a little difficult in the criminal law sense because if they're in another room, it would be difficult to prove it as a crime, but we're dealing with it in sort of the broader context.
There is also
Trending.
considerable cross-reporting between LAPD and the Department of Family and Children's Services. So, again, it may not show in the statistics for LAPD. It would definitely show in the statistics for DCFS.
And the trending, domestic violence is trending up, down, remaining the same?
It's mostly unreported, so it's very difficult to note a trend when it's not being reported.
But given those that are being recorded.
The calls for service seem to be remarkably consistent.
Thank you.
It's also not a separate Part 1 crime, so it's difficult. It's measured separately in LAPD, but nationally and such. It seems to be, from what I hear, relatively consistent, and the demand for services is consistent or rising, depending on other factors.
How does the city of LA do as far as, with your mission? I mean, how does the city do in developing and coordinating domestic violence programs? Are we on the cutting edge? Are we just in the back seat here? Or is there progress being made? I mean, this is a big time issue, and I wonder if you're satisfied with the progress. Are there new programs happening? Or, do you see a lot of activity here?
Funding is a big issue.
Well, you're supposed to make recommendations to the city council regarding funding.
And we do.
I think it's a combination of answers. The city has, for example, the police work with service providers to work in teams to respond to domestic violence calls. That's a great program. Has it expanded citywide? No. Would it be great if it did? Yes.
And how can you help? I mean, that's what you're trying to do, is help expand and coordinate these programs. So you believe there are service providers to take us to the next level, but for the funding to those service providers? Is that what you're saying? Or you're saying
Yes.
that there are new programs that need to be developed and things like that?
The DART programs that are in existence are all based with the service providers in collaboration with various LAPD divisions, but not all the divisions. The goal was originally to hopefully get that sort of program established in all the divisions. We have not accomplished that.
And
Is that a funding issue?
Yes.
do you, what city leads the way in this? I mean, is Boston better than us? Is Minneapolis? I mean, is there
I don't know.
best practices
Well,
you look at?
as far as DART response, it varies because the models, even within LA, varies. Oftentimes with domestic violence programs in general, if you look at smaller cities, they may do more what I think people would call some cutting edge things, but it's difficult. Some of these programs we try to bring in on a pilot basis, but LA is so large that sometimes just the size of LA is an impediment to bringing in programs. One of the things we do, the task force also does, is I co-chair a committee about the overlap of domestic violence and gang violence, which really nobody else is doing. And I run a committee meeting that includes domestic violence service providers, gang intervention workers, LAPD, DCFS, probation. It's a relatively amazing group of people who get together monthly to try to look at the problems together. So in that way, I would say that is, I think that would constitute something that's cutting edge. So it depends. The field itself is beginning to look at how services are provided in slightly different ways. LA has been very active in that, but we're just not as nimble as some of these smaller cities where there's one courtroom or there's, the 5 police officers. So those kind of, I think that's true in all sort of social services here, but we face those kind of barriers as well. In addition to even our budget the task force budget was cut, a lot. We just looked at over 20 years. I mean, even our meager budget gets cut, so it's difficult without the funding.
Coordinate with mainstream philanthropy in LA as far as the service providers and getting your message across to the foundation world?
Well, the service providers certainly. I think everybody scours every penny. I don't, it's...
Why don't you guys call me and get together, and I'll invite one more commissioner, because we have Brown Act issues, and sort of look at how we can...
Great.
I've worked with the Genesee Center. Are you familiar with that one?
Yes.
So I worked with the Genesee Center, which has a number of residences and provides services for...
Adrian Lamar is a member of our task force and on our executive board.
Let's do lunch.
Sounds great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Commissioners, a couple of questions you had maybe I can help you with.
Yeah.
You know, the department has a domestic violence coordinator out of the Detective Bureau. If the commission is interested in more details about the overall strategies of the police department and the city, we could bring Detective Bureau in to talk to you about that, like we're doing with the traffic issues. Commissioner Madison asked about the occurrences, what the occurrence level was relative to years past. Year to date, we've had 2,147 reported, as was pointed out, incidents of either child or spousal abuse, both Part 1s and Part 2s. That's a 5.4% increase as compared to 13 when we had 2,037. It is a 4.4% reduction from 12 when we had 2,246. So, you know, it's fairly flat, as was described to you, and those are strictly criminal acts that have been reported. So that's not calls for service, and that is obviously nothing that went unreported.
Commissioner Kim?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the work that I've connected with Eve on, and the work that I do in our Immigrants' Rights Clinic at the law school, we serve many victims of domestic violence. So this is a really pervasive issue, and I think that the root causes are structural, and so it's difficult to overcome that, and that would probably give the reason for why those numbers are always consistent and why it's a relatively hidden issue, and also perhaps provide reason for why in smaller communities where there's more relationships among folks and where intervention is possible or more feasible, that prevention can be achieved. But in a city like this, I think that would be very difficult to achieve. And therefore, our service providers are really strapped. And so, unfortunately, this kind of issue, we can do our best by responding effectively rather than, or it's difficult to achieve prevention. And I completely agree if our service providers can receive funding to have more capacity to address all the victims or survivors out there, that we'll be better off.
My interest really isn't in relation to our department. For me, I was looking at your goals, in what your big goals are in developing and coordinating programs, and maybe we can be a little bit helpful there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And we do have one public comment card.
Carol, is there anything else that you want to say?
No.
Okay, thanks for all you do, both. So you've got your chair is vacant?
Not really. Eve's in it now.
It's not totally vacant.
It says, because on your stationery it says there's...
Well, what happened was the chair resigned relatively suddenly. I was vice chair, and the way our bylaws are written, you don't actually become chair. That remains vacant because we have an election in June. So if I'm speaking to you the next time we come, then I did a good job, I guess.
We have faith.
Mr. Jabbar Mohammed.
Thanks for your time. We'll be in touch.
Thank you.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Chief Jabbar Mohammed for Bismillah Justice Movement. Yes, my comment in regards to the, should I say, our comment in regards to the domestic violence. You know, as a result, I said 48,000. As a result of this domestic violence, people are convicted. And I was curious to know as to what the conviction rate was in regards to it, as well as the complexion of the arrest. You know, how many domestic violence reports were made in the African American community, how many domestic violence reports were made in the Hispanic community, and what was the result of that, as well as what am I trying to get to? Anger management. Okay, where is the resolve? Do we have a study that if in fact we put into practice that this anger, with anger management and all these other sciences that we have, can we bring this to an end? Has there been some type of forecast? You know, like we do cancer research and things of this nature because we want to end cancer. Okay, so these things that plague us, the society, we want to end them. So what kind of studies are being given so that we can? Because the consequence of it, you know, our prisons are crowded, that's taxpayers' money having to be spent, things of this nature. And so, you know, this is my comment in regards to it. You know, we need to spend some more money or money to rid ourselves of it.
Thank you. We're now on item 8C, verbal presentation and an update from the commanding officer and Community Police Advisory Board representative regarding community-initiated problem-solving, crime strategies, and other programs and goals within the Hollywood area. And we have one public comment card on this also.
Welcome, gentlemen.
Morning.
Thank you for coming.
Good morning. I'm Captain Peter Zarconi from Hollywood area, and to my right is my very competent co-chair, Gary Minzer. He's been with the CPAB for its duration, and I'm very lucky to have him there. Before we get started, I did want to acknowledge the tragedy that we just had in Hollywood and thank the commissioners for their attendance at the funeral, and also acknowledge the outpouring of support that we've had from the rest of the city and the rest of the commands in the department, and just to say thanks for that. It's been very helpful to our officers and to the family as well. So thank you. Before we get started, I realize the commission is mostly new, and I'm also new in Hollywood. I've been there 6 months, and I just wanted to give a real quick, broad overview of Hollywood in general. The boundaries of Hollywood, going from the north in the Hollywood Hills by Mount Lee, Griffith Park over on the east side. Coming down on the east, it's bounded by Normandy, where we boundary Los Feliz and Olympic Division and Rampart. We go down to Melrose as our southern boundary, which turns to Willoughby, then Fountain, and then kind of parallels Sunset, and where we border West Hollywood. And then our western boundary in the Hollywood Hills is not very well defined, but it's sort of aligned with La Colina Drive, Flicker Way, and Walker Road on the west. And then within Hollywood, we have something called the Hollywood Entertainment District, which we'll be referring to. And what that is basically a box around Hollywood Boulevard that's defined by Yucca and Franklin on the north, and Sunset on the south, La Brea on the west, and Argyle on the east. So that Hollywood Entertainment District, what that is it's a concentration of entertainment-oriented businesses and bars and clubs and so forth. And we have committed to providing specialized enforcement in that area. Hollywood's unique challenges, we do have, as I said, that entertainment district with a high concentration of nightclubs. There's at least 85 type 48 club or bar type licenses in the HED. In addition to that, we also have a high concentration of homeless. It's probably second only to what occurs in Central Division. We have a large amount of development and growth going on in Hollywood, as well as regular special events and First Amendment activity. So those are all challenges that we're presented with. And the command structure that we have to deal with that is we do have a pretty large command, 343 officers, and it's divided up between patrol, our HED unit. We have vice and detectives and gang impact team, and our patrol impact team, and our Crow and Slow unit. And finally, with our Crow and Slow unit, we do have a very robust array of youth programs, including 71 cadets and 30 more in the pipeline. We have a junior cadet program with 51 children younger aged. We have a POW program that has over 450 children served, which is the second largest in the city. And we also have a teen CPAB, which is comprised of kids from all those programs and a couple kids that aren't involved in any of them, about 35 participants in our teen CPAB. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Gary Minzer to talk about the direction of our CPAB.
Thank you, Captain. Good morning, Commissioners and Chief Beck. Let me give you a quick overview of the structure of our CPAB. We have approximately 40 community members. We have 7 meetings planned for 2014, plus 2 CPAB town hall meetings, in addition to our emergency preparedness symposium and our Hispanic forum, as well as quarterly nightclub CPAB meetings. Our subcommittees consist of our emergency preparedness subcommittee. Hollywood was number 1 in CERT training in 2013, with 44 members being trained. Our emphasis is basically on getting the message out to educate, to provide safety tips. Our Homeless Outreach Committee, supported by many social service organizations, such as My Friend's Place. A very robust nightclub subcommittee, which brings together the nightclub owners to address issues within their industry as they affect public safety and the community. And we have a station beautification subcommittee, and it's so important that we try to improve the amenities, particularly in older stations like Hollywood, to compete with the far more superior stations that have been built or renovated in the city of LA. This is supported by community members such as Sharon Romano from the Hollywood Beautification Team. We have remodeled, renovated the break room at the Hollywood station, which has been completed. Underway currently is a project for a wait and mat room. And we also have a station landscaping project, which is being undertaken by the Upper Nicholas Canyon Homeowners Association. Our traffic subcommittee, with 2014 being LA's year of traffic, we will soon have the reemergence of our community government, traffic committee. This committee will bring together the city agencies and the community to improve upon the communications and address traffic issues in the Hollywood area. The resurgence and continuing development in Hollywood is totally aligned with public safety. As I've mentioned to your board in the past, Hollywood does not get turned around without a major LAPD public safety effort and dedication. LAPD made the commitment and effort to provide the public safety needed to give confidence to the investors and developers to come back to Hollywood. Hollywood remains the economic engine of the city. Hollywood is probably the most demanding, complex, and complicated division in the city. The demands put on public safety due to development and the entertainment component is phenomenal. It's a 24-hour community. It never shuts down. It is the most destination-bound community in the city of Los Angeles. Currently, the Hollywood area has over 385 ABC licenses, and over 120 of them are located within the Hollywood Entertainment District. 35% of all the city of LA's, ABC licenses are located in Hollywood, with, as the captain stated, over 85 club and bar licenses alone. And these bar and licenses, this isn't for restaurants, this is just strictly for bars and clubs, Development in Hollywood continues with projects such as, and I want to give you a few examples, the Emerson College campus, which has just completed their $110 million development, is located at the one-time historic Spaghetti Factory site. This is a college that focuses on internships for the studios and film industry. Mixed-use developments such as Boulevard 6200, approximately 530 apartment units, 70,000 square feet of mixed use. Columbia Square, a mixed-use development with over 500,000 square feet of office, 200 apartment units. It's approximately a $385 million project. The Camden project at Selma and Vine, a project consisting of a national gym, retail, and again, an additional 287 apartments, and a large Target store at the corner of Sunset and Western. All of these developments are under construction or just near completion. These developments alone total approximately $1 billion in investments. Other developments to potentially break down this year are the Argyle Hotel, another 210 rooms, the Dream Hotel, 170 rooms, the Vine Hotel, 112 rooms, Lamar Homes at 76 units on Highland, and J.H. Snyder's 244,000 square foot office project. This is in addition to Hudson Pacific's 400,000 square foot office development at Sunset Bronson Studios. Almost all of the developments I've mentioned will have additional ABC licenses. These developments mean more activity, more tourists, more entertainment, more nightlife in the Hollywood area on top of what currently exists. You can see that I've emphasized and I've had a focus on development with the ones I've just referred to and the high-profile events in Hollywood, because this all translates to continuing the tremendous need for a strong public safety infrastructure to support the activity in the Hollywood area. Throughout the years, the Police Commission has also played a major role in assisting the Hollywood community on various issues, such as the nightclub compliance and currently valet parking. And, I've said this to your commissioners in the past and to your current commissioners now, we truly thank you and the LAPD for all the support and efforts that you've given to the Hollywood community. There's no question that without the effort that you've put forth, the development would not occur, and needless to say, public safety wouldn't be there. And I think all of us know without public safety, none of this gets done. And so I thank you for giving us the opportunity to bring you up to speed and up to date on the Hollywood station and the community.
Thanks, Gary. You know your stuff. Tell me about the boosters and how they. Do you have a number of your people, of your CPAB group that's also in the boosters? How do you guys relate and coordinate?
Well, when you say boosters, I imagine you're defining that as a fundraising organization.
Yeah.
Well, something, and being a part of CPAB for 20 years, something that our CPAB has done is that we really keep fundraising as a separate entity than the Community Police Advisory Board. We totally address quality of life issues, and that's what you can see the subcommittees are made up of. We do have a Hollywood Police Support Association, which is separate from CPAB, which is a fundraising entity or an arm, which does raise funds in the community to assist projects at the station, such as the beautification projects that we talked about.
You guys must help them in prioritizing needs.
We do. Yeah. Well, prioritizing needs, I don't think our group looks at as the same as fundraising. We don't look to our group as fundraising. Okay, that's all I was saying.
I think they would look to you for advice.
We give advice, but we do give advice in terms of that, and we also give advice in terms of the projects that we think that the boosters should address their focus on.
Is there a business improvement district?
There's three. There's the Hollywood. You want to
talk about
yes, sir. We have three bids: the Hollywood bid, the Sunset Vine bid, and the Media District bid. And all three of them actually are I'm quite impressed with. They do help us quite a bit.
Good. Questions, anyone?
Just a couple of comments and a question. I do want to thank Captain Zarcone and Gary Menzer. I live in the area, the far west end of Hollywood Division, and I've spent a fair amount of time at the station and ride-alongs, and appreciate all the work that you're doing and the amount of work you put in over time. I also just want to thank you for the significant amount of cooperation you do with the local nonprofits, community organizations working in the area. We just heard about domestic violence. I know you do cooperate on that. The LGBT community, homeless youth, work with issues related to transgender folks, homelessness in general. And I've always been impressed with that outreach and the amount of work you're doing there and the sensitivity. And I appreciate that. One question, it's been a little while since I've done a ride-along in Hollywood, but each time that I've done it, I've been, and it's been weekends and late, and I've been initially surprised, and not surprised, of how much time the officers sit in traffic. And so I'm just curious if you have a sense of traffic just continuing to get worse, or the things that you're able to do that are mitigating it, or, any thoughts about that?
Well, sir, as a resident, I feel for you because just working there, it almost kills me. I mean, the traffic is profound, and I would imagine it's not improving.
Yeah. Well, if there's anything we can do to help with that, I'd be happy to try to do that. But thank you very much.
Good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
If I could just add,
Chief?
Commissioner, I want to make sure I publicly commend Pete and his team for their response last week. It was when you run a division, there's a lot of big challenges, and Hollywood's a big challenge. But there is nothing harder than losing an officer and having to deal with the aftermath. And Pete's a young commanding officer there, and he did a great job. So I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate it. And traffic is much worse. When I was a 3+1 in Hollywood, we got everywhere in minutes, and now Hollywood is a victim of its own success in that way. It has become a destination point. It has an entertainment district. It has great restaurants, and there's a price that goes with that.
Well, hopefully you got a precursor to more efficient use of mass transportation, because that's the answer.
Absolutely.
And the structures there, and all of these things that are happening can be very positive as the mass tran works. And Carrie, thanks you've been involved for 20 years. terrific to have the continuity and the guy that knows so much about it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Okay.
Okay, we do have one public comment card. We have Mr. Jabbar Mohammed.
Good morning again, Commissioners, Chief. The report, it was insightful. However, regarding community-initiated problem solving, and I didn't see any members of the community, nor did I see any presentations in terms of proposals on the part of the community presented by the commanding officer or Mr. Menzer. And here again, there's some questions in terms of how many homeless agencies are there in Hollywood. We're concerned, the Bismillah, the justice movement, that's our major concern. And it's great that they spoke of homelessness, and that is one of the issues, because we wanted that committee member here. They have a homeless committee. That's great. And we would like to know his strategies in terms of what, because this is about strategy, and I didn't get any. I got good reports in terms of what to look forward in the future, the contracts and the buildings that's going up, and that's great, renewal. However, what are we doing to impact crime? What are we doing to encourage the people to better quality of life? And this is important. So when you hit the note homelessness, I wanted to know how many shelters, homeless professionals, how many homeless professionals there are there in Hollywood, how many homeless station attendants in terms of volunteering, attending the police stations. So many energies that can be used for the sake of the enlightening and betterment of the community. They're in that homeless community. Again, I just want to reiterate. So here again, I like to hear that community speak and that committee speak.
Thank you. That is the final comment card. We are now on item number 9. I'm sorry, item number 10, closed session items.
Public comment.
I'm sorry, I'm totally confused here. We're on number 9, public comment. We have Jabbar Mohammed.
Morning again, Commissioners, Chief. Public safety this is Jabbar Mohammed for Bismillah, the Justice Movement. And here again, the issue is public safety, public safety, public safety. And we can't say that enough. Okay, so when we make effort to have the public safe, and we see the income that we have to do so, then we should question our progress in that regard. He used a heavy term. What was destination bound? See, Hollywood is one of the most destination bound communities in the world. Okay, so reputation is very important, and how we manage is very important. And none of us should be subject to the thought that we could be subject to harm when we walk the streets. And none of our visitors should be plagued with the thought that they are going to be subject to excessive force on the part of the constabulary. Oh, here again, my heart goes out to Nicholas Lee. Like we said, life is precious. And all those that make effort for public safety, okay, all of us who make effort for public safety, because the citizens are important in regards. But here again, when we fail in that regards, we fail. So when we take demographic and we find that there's a complaint on the part of the public in regards to the safety, we should sincerely address it. Thank you.
We We are now on item number 10, closed session items. The Board of Police Commissioners will now recess into closed session to discuss item numbers 10A and B in accordance with various government codes.
Testing the very definition of their motto, to protect and to serve the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department. Standing tall in the thin blue line that protects us all, they wear many hats. They willingly assume their duties as fighters of crime, as investigators and enforcers of the law, ready to respond when the calls come in, as they always do. They number close to 10,000 sworn officers, and with the aid of over 3,000 civilian employees, they guard and serve an area of 468 square miles. We salute them, acknowledging the many jobs they perform and the price they often have to pay by putting their lives on the line. As they confront the face of fire, violence, and disaster, these men and women walk toward the explosions, into the jaws of chaos, making sure we get out safe and alive, even when their own lives remain in peril. Take special note of the leadership of the LAPD, trained in tolerance, practicing patience, which is a reflection of their leadership, setting standards of discipline that lead to polished policing,